Dr. Melvin Fein, Professor of Sociology, PhD at Kennesaw State University, and he is a Madison Forum member and has been a Madison Forum member for several years. So he's not Johnny-come-lately to us or to any of the issues that he's going to be addressing. And I'm going to keep my comments to a minimum because y'all came to hear him and not to hear me. But it's important to hear some of the things in the news that, and I'm only going to mention one. Y'all have heard about the $400 million sent to Iran in cash, in small bills, mind you. I don't know if you heard that, small bills.
We were in the middle of the night.
Yeah, in the middle of the night. And the freeing of the hostages, we are told, was just coincidental. You know? So we gave them the money, they freed the hostages, but that was only coincidental, and it was to cover a debt. Granted that the debt was made to the Shah, you know, that government, so this is questionable whether this government was owed any money at all. Plus, they've done so much harm to our soldiers, there should be reparations coming back the other way, but that's beside the point. The point I'm trying to make is that this may very, oh, now he leave, that's too bad. He had something that he had to do, but I really would love for him to give his comment. But what this may do is set a precedent for drug deals. You know, it's against the law to sell the drugs, dealing, right? That carries another penalty far beyond the possession of the drugs. So how long will it be before we see a drug deal going down and the defense attorney saying, look, this guy just owed the dealer money. That was a separate business thing. He's owed him money for a long time and he was paying him back. They had a meeting. And the drug dealer was just giving him some free drugs. You know, totally. There was no sale involved. And as a precedent, we look at the national precedent set by the president. No quid pro quo, no money for this. It was just circumstantial. So if any of you are ever caught dealing in drugs, which I'm afraid again, you have a ready defense. You have a precedent. No, it wasn't selling. The guy owed me money, and the drugs was just a favor to him. Right?
Political than they were. I owe the guy money.
Yeah.
He was just careless with his money.
Just owed him money. So anyway. So therefore, that can cover the whole thing of bribes. I wasn't bribing him, I owed him money.
There you go.
You know? And if he decided he wanted to do something nice for me, it was unrelated to the money. That's what lobbyists do all the time. Of course, they get paid for it, but that's another story. So let me not take up any more time because you came to hear Dr. Melvin Fein, and we really appreciate you being here to talk to the Madison before this. Okay, thank you.
Okay, folks. All right. Let me see where I begin today. You know we're in a political mess. You know that people are unhappy with both of the candidates for president. You also know that nobody knows what to do about it. We had a recent poll that said that over 70% of Americans think that the country is going in the wrong direction. We've certainly been stuck in a rut for a long time. One of the reasons why I think somebody like Trump has resonated with the public is because he's anti-PC. And people are tired of PC, period. Okay? And people are tired of Hillary, for that matter, too, and the lies, but they tolerate the lies anyway. So why? Why are we in this mess, and where are we likely to go? So I want to talk about social change today, and where I think we're going, and why I think we are in the midst of what I call an ideological crisis. Now, but before I do, I want to do some shameless hustling. All right. My book, Post-Liberalism, The Death of a Dream, which came out 4 years ago, is now out in paperback this month. Much cheaper, okay? In which I explain why liberalism not only does not work, it cannot work. Ever. Okay? Another book that I don't expect anybody to be terribly interested in is that I wrote that came out last fall called Evolution versus Revolution, the Paradoxes of Social Change. So a little technical, but the point here is to try to understand how does change happen, and this is what I have been concentrating on. Now, my most recent book that came out this June is Unlocking Your Inner Courage, paperback, selling for $18 on Amazon. I got 4 copies for $10, okay? My point is that in order to be successful in our society, we need courage. You need courage for work, you need courage for family. If you don't have courage, if you're a cupcake or a snowflake or whatever else, you're not going to succeed, okay? So this is a what you can do about it type of book, meant for the general public. All right. Just this morning, I was working on, well, I've got another book I'm married to, I'm trying to sell. I write books. What I'm working on this morning is called, and here is about where I think I'm going. Let me explain. You all know the Marxist kind of analysis about the way history it moves, okay? You know, primitive communism and then you get the Asiatic system and the slave system and feudalism and then capitalism and ultimately we get socialism. It's based upon the notion that change happens because social classes are fighting over the means of production, okay? And ultimately it's going to lead to socialism. This, by the way, is a fundamental tenet of liberalism. I mean, my God, we just had Bernie Sanders, who openly admits that he's a socialist, and lots of Democrats are happy to have him do so. So they really believe that this is where we're going. You get it from Obama too. You know, it's the arrow in history. This is where we're headed. It's inevitable. You can't stop it. I am saying they got it all wrong. They just got it totally screwed up. And so I'm looking at this from a totally different point of view. You see, here's an interesting sociological fact, a very interesting sociological fact. We, as a species, started out living in small groups. Okay? Prior to about 12,000 years ago, all human beings lived in groups of no more than about 150 people. They were hunter-gatherer. This is the kind of world that we evolved to live in. A world in which everyone knew everyone else. In fact, most of us were related to one another. Strangers, in fact, were apt to be killed because they were not trusted. But look at us. We don't live in that kind of world at all. We live in a world of millions of people, hundreds of millions of people, in fact, billions of people. How is it possible that this kind of human society evolved? This did not happen with any other mammals. Period. I mean, chimpanzees, they live in small groups, they always have. What enabled us to do this? How can we live together without killing each other? You know, folks, I remember growing up with a sister who was a little more than 2 years younger than I was. We fought like cats and dogs. And we were siblings. How is it that we're able to get along with people we don't care about, strangers? It seems to me that to understand human history, you've got to understand the ways that we learn to live together. One of the first ways that we got to live together was as families. And we expanded the family to the tribe, so that the tribe was like a larger family in which we treated people as if they were siblings, etc. But you know, when society got into the millions, that didn't work. And by the time you got to the Roman Empire, which was an empire in the sense that there were lots of people who didn't even speak the same language, you needed glue to hold them together. And the glue that held them together was religion. Christianity took over in the Roman Empire because it was a universal everyone could belong, and the early Christians prided themselves on treating people as if they were members of the family. Charity, the greatest thing, love of everybody. What I'm doing is I'm now reconceptualizing this and calling this spiritual collectivism. That is collectivism, we're all one group, to understand ourselves in nature as part of the group, and we do this as part of a large spiritual family. We're all the children of God. But eventually, as the world changed, as the world became more commercial, buying and selling things in the marketplace, by the time you get to the Renaissance, this begins to erode a little bit, and people start thinking of themselves not just as members of the group, but people start thinking of themselves as individuals. This is what business people have to do. They make deals as individuals. They have to have the ability to make independent decisions. And so the individual becomes much more important. And now, in terms of enlightenment, we develop a new way of dealing with one another in terms of buying and selling and being dependent in this way. And I'm calling this market individualism. And market individualism is part of the legacy of the United States, with rugged individualism, going out on the frontier, starting your own business, becoming successful, taking pride in your achievements. The problem with this was that eventually a few folks got to be super rich. And in being super rich, they could exercise power over others. I'm thinking about the Rockefellers and the Carnegies and the Morgans and so forth. And people became nervous and they wanted protection and they turned to the government. And the government came in with its rules and regulations and programs and what have you. It was going to be the protector of the little people. Now I'm calling this bureaucratic collectivism, not liberalism, bureaucratic collectivism, because this way of holding people together could not have developed had we not developed bureaucracies. Bureaucracies came because of large government, of private organizations. You couldn't have a Standard Oil if you didn't run it out of a bureaucratic way. So now with this tool, the government had the ability to exercise mass control. And ever since they moved in this direction, they've been exercising more and more control. More rules, more programs, more intrusion into our personal lives, telling us what we can drink, where we can live. I mean, you name it, they keep adding to the domain. Now, I'm saying bureaucratic collectivism is a dead end precisely because of this. Because it not only violates our freedom, it does something else. We live in a mass techno-commercial society. We live in a very, very complicated world with many people doing very complicated jobs where they have to make independent decisions. Okay? You don't get the kind of evolution in the computer business, for example, without people having the right to come up with the right ideas and move off in unanticipated directions. There's something else too that's happened that's a big problem. You know, because the government has come in and in many ways is trying to take over from the family. Through welfare programs and various other kinds of things, and schools and whatnot, the family has decreased in importance. And we now live in a situation where almost half of marriages end in divorce, but more importantly and tragically, almost half of our children are born out of wedlock. Now we know in sociology that the kids who are raised by single parents do less well than other kids in almost any dimension you can think of. Less school, less jobs, worse health, less mental health, everything. We're being divided into the haves and have-nots based upon the government trying to do all of this kind of stuff. Plus, our economy is being stultified by all of their regulations. So I'm saying we need to bring back individualism. But can't be market individualism, because we can't have a world in which people do whatever they want. We have to, if we're going to be individuals, we have to be intelligently individual. We have to know what we are doing. We have to make good decisions. We have to be what I call professionalized. We have to be self-motivated experts in what we do. This, I think, is the direction that we're moving in. And it's not an easy direction to move in, because it does ask that we have courage. In other words, if you are going to make independent decisions, you are going to be taking risks, whether that's in your business, or in your family, or just in ordinary relationships. You have to be able to keep your head and make good decisions. One of the things, I'm promoting two things in particular in support of this. One is emotional maturity. It's long past time that we became grown-ups. You know, we need to be able to control ourselves and to not get so angry or so frightened or so unhappy that we can't think straight. Okay? We need to do that. And oh, by the way, we need families to help children to learn to do that. The government can't do it. I've got to say, colleges can't do it either. All right? When I finish, I'm starting a program in KSU to address this. I'll get to that at the end, okay? The other big thing is, well, I'm losing track of myself. Yes, that's it. Oh, yes. We also need to modify the moral rules that we live under. We need what I'm now calling a principled society. I did talk in Cherokee about this some years ago, in which I'm saying, okay, now, what we need, and we need to believe in seriously, are 5 principles that are absolutely being violated by the bureaucratic collectivists. 1, honesty. What the hell ever happened to honesty? I mean, everywhere you turn, people lie, and people justify the lies. I mean to say, people do the kinds of things that, when I was a kid, had they done these things, I mean, they really would have gone to jail. So, we need honesty. What else we need? We need responsibility, not dependence on the government. We need to be able to make decisions, good decisions, that we intentionally make, and then if things go wrong, accept the blame and fix it. You know, I assume I've been in a room full of successful people. If you're successful, you know you make mistakes, okay? And the deal is, you can't avoid that. But what you need to do is to be honest enough with yourself and have enough courage to fix what's broken. Okay? Next, we need fairness. Fairness. By fairness, I don't mean the social justice stuff and whatever. What I mean by fairness is universality. Same rules for everybody. None of this affirmative action nonsense, okay? In other words, truly, I mean, I don't care about your color of your skin or your gender or your age or your sexual orientation. The rules should be the same, period, okay? And then when you succeed, you get to keep what you earn. You get credit for what you've done. It's none of this business, somebody paved the road and therefore they did it. That's absurd, okay? Next, liberty. We need liberty. Sure, we need liberty. We've been talking about that in this country for a long time. All right? But you've got to understand that liberty too has its limitations. Liberty does not mean that you do whatever you want to do. Liberty has to be modified by these other principles. okay? But you need liberty if you're going to have people exercise initiative and come up with new directions and new ideas. People also have a right to control their own destiny, for heaven's sakes. So we should support that. And last, but certainly not least, family. Family. Family is falling apart. Because people want their freedom. Why should I make a commitment? Why should I tie myself down? What's the point of this when I can support myself? You know, if you're a woman nowadays, you really don't need a husband in order to survive. You can do it on your own. You know, you don't need to be pushed around. And if you're a man, you really don't need a wife. You can go to a restaurant, for goodness sakes. You can afford it, okay? And if you want a little extra recreation nowadays, hey, sexual mores being what they are, go for it, you know? So, what is the point of marrying? Well, it strikes me that there are two principal reasons to marry. One is, and perhaps the most important reason, is children. Children deserve two committed parents. If you're going to bring children into this world and marry, first you commit to a spouse, and when you commit to a spouse, then you can commit to your children, and they deserve both of their parents to be there with them. So, if you want kids, marry and learn to marry in a way that makes the marriage work. If you don't have kids and you just want to have sex, hey, do what you want. I don't care. I care about the kids. The other thing I care about is Christopher Lash, the historian, talked about a haven in a heartless world. We live in a world filled with strangers. They're all around us. Most people really don't care about us. I tell this to my class all the time. You know, I say to them, you know, I don't love you. I don't love them. They're my students. They're not my wife. They're not my kids. They're not my siblings. They're my students. They come, they go. I like them. I don't love them. Well, most people don't love me. They're a big thing. So it's sort of like, hey, we need a place in this world where we can go, where people do love us, where people do care about us, where people do understand us, and like us, more than like us, love us despite our weaknesses. Because we all have weaknesses. And you know, if you're in an intimate relationship, your spouse is going to discover that. Can I? Okay. But you need somebody who's going to be with you anyway. But what about feminism? What about women, you know, demanding liberation and the male hegemony and the men, you know, domineering and all of this business and raping women to keep them in their place? First of all, most of that is absolutely nonsense. You're just a small. Do you know where most of the wealth in this nation resides? Women. And you know why women own most of the wealth? Because their husbands die and leave it to them. Okay? Well, if men didn't give a darn about their wives, why would they leave it to them? Well, anyway, so how can you have women wanting to assert themselves, and I would say justifiably wanting to assert themselves? Women are human beings too. Women deserve to be able to make independent decisions and to look after their own welfare and so forth. How can you have people coming together in an intimate union when both people want to be winners? The answer is what I call a collaborative marriage. You get together because you have goals that you share. And what are those goals? raising a family and creating a loving home and mutual support. If people understand these things, if they understand themselves, if they choose their spouses wisely, nowadays, of course, we have the freedom to make these choices. We have the possibility of creating strong families and recreating them. Mind you, am I talking about the kind of romantic nonsense that people are fed in our society about finding one's soulmate, etc.? I am not talking about that at all. I am talking about honestly working out problems, including when there are times when spouses at least temporarily hate one another. I mean to say, I don't think I've ever met married folks who told me that there was never a moment when they were unhappy with their spouse. You gotta learn to live with these things and work these things out. That's part of the name of the game, and that means we have to become expert at becoming intimate with others as well. Now, I'm assuming that I'm not talking about things that you never contemplated yourselves. I'm assuming that we live in this world where we have encountered these problems already. We may not have known quite how to put them together. We certainly have not discovered a way to express them politically. Politically, these things don't get talked about. I just got through writing a column about Hillary. You know, Hillary wrote a book called It Takes a Village.
Yeah.
Well, what was the village she was talking about? The government, for Christ's sakes. Which is one of the things that's helped undermine our families. Who's calling her out on that?
Maybe nobody's
And you know, you listen to the convention, the way she loved her daughter, Chelsea, was by putting little notes in a drawer. Wow. I've always wanted a mother like that. So I'm saying, this is the kind of direction that we've got to start moving in. We've got to start letting people know the realities of what we're dealing with, the realities of what we can do, the realities of what we can do, what we must do. Not asking the government to save us all the time, but finding ways to strengthen ourselves individually and in our relationships. So that is part of where I am going now. One of the things that I'm doing this term at KSU, I've started something I'm calling the Social Individualism Project. The idea is this: if we are going to become social individualists, if we're going to learn to be people who make good, independent decisions, we need to learn how. And who's teaching us? Certainly not college. Our colleges give us cognitive stuff. They don't give us emotional stuff. You don't get emotional maturity in your classes. You get dull as dishwater books to read. So what I'm doing is this. I'm starting workshops. Workshop, what do I mean by workshop? A small group, no more than 12, to deal with particular issues. This term I'm starting with a workshop on courage. Okay? You know? College students certainly need that. I'm also starting a workshop on identity. Who am I and what do I want to be when I grow up? I assure you that college kids are really concerned about this. Okay? Next term, I plan to do a workshop on intimacy. How do you maintain intimacy in this world where really we have all kinds of fantasies out there about how to do it, and people need to learn about it, and they need to learn about it on an emotional level. Not tell people, but help people learn to discover this. So this year, I am in the process of developing these workshops, finding out how I can make them work. Next year from now, what I'm going to be doing is starting to try to reach out and look for volunteers to facilitate these things. In other words, if this works, I want there to be lots of people able to do this and to do it in a way that doesn't cost money for kids who don't have money. Okay? I think that as a society, it's time for us to start being honest about the difficulties in life and starting to help the younger generation learning to be tough enough to deal with those difficulties. Okay? You about ready? Am I about on time?
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Did you want to mention this new project that you have coming up?
But this is the one that I talked about. I'm also going to, this other thing, I talked about also with the Madison Forum is going to help, I'm going to give some public talks on these things, okay? At KSU. I want to give one definitely on courage, got the book, okay? I don't want to give one on marriage. What is marriage about and how does it work or not work? One of the catchphrases I have now, I haven't quite figured out how to handle is fairness without feminism. I am adamantly opposed to feminism, which I'm not against the women. I'm not against women at all. I'm not against women being successful. I'm not against women being happy and or being independent. Absolutely not. Okay? But I am against feminism, which I perceive as one of the most selfish kinds of ideological movements we've ever had that is concerned only about the welfare of women. The heck with men, hate men, and children are animals. They don't count. Okay? And I go, whoa, no. We need to turn that around.